African governments have embarked on a mass SIM card disconnection drive to curb the increased cases of criminal activity resulting from SIM card swaps and fraudulent registrations. More than 50 African countries have mandatory SIM registration laws in place, but most have barely been enforced. Only 46% of sub-Saharan Africa's population is subscribed to mobile services, and in many places, the measure to enforce registration threatened to decrease this number even further. Indeed, many African countries have taken steps to clamp down on fraudulent activities. Millions of Nigerians were barred from making phone calls, with as many as 75 million people disconnected nationwide. Also, Zambia announced in March this year that it has deactivated at least 2 million SIM cards, while the same has been the case in Tanzania, which they say they have blocked at least 18,000 SIM cards in 2021. While digital identification may be the solution to criminal activities, the enforcement measures may have immediate negative impact on small and medium-scale enterprises. Now, SMEs account for 84% of employment in Africa, and this move could shut millions of people off from seamless communication with family, friends, and customers. Now, in Kenya, the Communications Authority extended the SIM card registration deadline by 6 months to 15th of October after netizens sparked outrage on social media over the methods being used by authority. So we turned to our Biz 100 experts from across the continent. We asked them if the SIM registration exercise in their countries has been handled in a convenient and effective way. This is what they had to say.
That SIM card registration in our country was handled efficiently, because even though the various network providers did do a series of text messages to remind the public about registration of their lines, I feel like the urgency and the requirements of what was needed of the public was not very well explained.
In Liberia, SIM card registration has been effective to a certain extent. Most of the registrations are done by professionals that work with the telecommunication networks. My issue is with the repetition of registration of multiple SIM to one users. That has the propensity of opening doors for scammers.
It was very efficient. Everything went well. Of course, there's many questions. Who registered the SIM cards? How did it go? I think that we are at an 80% success rate.
Earlier on, I had a chat with Matano Ndaro. He is the Licensing, Compliance and Standards Director at Communications Authority of Kenya. I began by asking him what was new with this registration and why it's important.
There are those people who would buy many SIM cards. A lot of them, maybe in their hundreds or thousands, from either hawkers in the streets or from kiosks, and then use what we call SIM boxing, where they would put a number of SIM cards, hundreds or thousands of them, into a SIM box, and that they use to terminate international traffic and change that international traffic actually into local traffic by assigning those numbers that are those SIM cards, and therefore bypassing the mobile GSM gateways and denying the mobile operators their hard-earned revenues.
What will the economic impacts be for small, medium enterprises?
For sure, if you are properly registered as a small business and all your critical information is known, when perhaps you are using your SIM card to transact financial services, including borrowing or securing insurance services through mobile financial services, it makes it possible for you, because you are known, to be trusted. However, in the short run, if your SIM card is not registered as a small and medium enterprise, or even as an individual, once the notice period expires, then the next action is that you may get blocked. And for you now to be back in business, you will have to be registered anew.
You mentioned criminal activities, which this SIM registration exercise is hoping to solve. What other problems would this exercise help solve?
it actually makes it possible for people to be secure on their own, so that when your identity is being used without your knowledge, once you're registered, your SIM card is registered, the mobile operator knows that it is Maya who owns this SIM card, which is attached to this registration documents. So once something happens, it is much easier for you to be secure because one can link your identity to your SIM card without any problem. In the absence of that, when your identity documents or identification documents are misused by someone through either pre-registered SIM cards or SIM cards that are sold in the streets without proper registration, then it puts you in harm's way. As an individual, you could even be a huge corporate institution that perhaps could suffer credibility because your information was misused by someone who had ill intentions from the beginning.